Hello, hello. Welcome back to Finding Spirit with Tabs. I'm your host, Tabs McCaffrey, and I'm a developing medium here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. On this show, I share my own personal experience as I grow and develop my psychic medium abilities. Also sharing everything and anything along the way as I dabble into Akashic Record Reading, intuitive readings, and really just trying to explore and expand the way we think, the way we look at spirituality, and just kind of walk in the path together. So welcome if you are new, welcome back if you are a listener. Okay, let's jump into today's episode. I have a couple things I want to talk about, and I'm so excited. This episode is coming out today on November 1st, which is new moon in Scorpio. I'm going to try emphasizing our full moons and new moons in content. So if you don't already follow me on Instagram, I invite you to check it out, Finding Spirit with Tabs. And this is where you can get posts and information about practices and things that I'm doing for these lunar events, we'll say. They're not big, they're happening all the time. But you know what? I really try and focus and utilize the lunar events for things in my life, and I feel like they've had an impact, so I'm trying to share that with other people. And as I start talking about this stuff, I can feel my throat chakra activating. It gets a little bit of that frogginess that comes through, and that is how I know I am speaking the truth and I'm on the right path. So new moon in Scorpio, what do you need to know? And I have notes here for everything because there's a lot of things we're going to talk about today. So new moon in Scorpio is all about deep transformation, letting things go and fresh starts. Today is the day, if you want to let go of something that's been going on, something that's been happening in your life, today is the day where you should be letting this go and opening to new opportunities. Maybe new opportunities that you're wanting, but being open to those and closing the door on things that maybe just aren't serving your higher self anymore. What you can focus on is self-reflection, taking a moment, exploring any feelings or past issues that you may be holding on to. This is where you acknowledge it and let it go. Letting go. So the Scorpio energy can be very intense. It's very powerful. If you know a Scorpio in your life, you know that these are two characteristics of them, but it's definitely clearing out the old and making space for new growth, okay? And then setting those intentions. So set the intentions for what you want. What do you want for personal growth? What do you want for healing? What do you want for new beginnings in your life? This is where you can write things down. Sometimes I'll write them down on a little piece of paper, fold it up, stick it into the moonlight for the night. I'm just putting it out there. I've set the intention. The new moon is going to shine on it, do it its magic. And yeah, these are just very practical ways that you can have a simple ritual for the new moon tonight. And it's going to be intense. I think we only have 2 new moons left in 2024. So we got to make sure we're utilizing these lunar cycles, okay? Next, I don't know if you guys remembered, but last episode I mentioned that I was getting a lot of ear ringing. It was happening like every other day. Also, I made the connection. It's been wild. I've been getting a ton of synchronicities. And the synchronicities, how they've been kind of unfolding is that I think about something and that person calls me. That has happened at least 5 times. Sometimes there'll be a problem, I'll think of the solution, and then someone will text me saying the exact same solution. That has happened 2 times. It's like this knowing of something that's going to happen, someone I'm going to speak to, a conversation that needs to be had, where I'll talk to a girlfriend, I'm like, man, I just thought of you yesterday. And they're like, yeah, me too. And it's like, we are connected and we're like, okay, time to make this call. It's just really strange when so many, and I say strange, it's not strange. It's magic. It's wild. It's crazy. This is life. But when you start to see the dots connecting, I don't know exactly how this is all correlating right now, but my theory on what's happening is it's kind of like another layer of my spiritual awakening. So I feel like there's different layers that happen for me. It's like discovering spirit is around me. Okay, peeling that layer. Working on my mediumship. I feel like I'm at a really comfortable place in my mediumship. It flows very easily. Usually when I sit with someone, I am connected to their spirit loved one before we even start the reading. And that's kind of been since the beginning, but it's been very strong lately. And I say lately, but the last probably like 5 months, it's been going very strong. Information flows very quickly. I'm able to validate the person or the spirit that I'm sitting with quite quickly, and then able to get into the messages and what they want to talk about. So I feel like that part I'm feeling really good about. I'm feeling really confident and very good about my mediumship side. And then now I feel like I've had some psychic stuff. I had a reading and this person wanted some psychic information. And psychic is not future telling, but what I like to look at it is I connect to them psychically and I start unraveling some of the things that maybe have been happening, some of the viewpoints that maybe they need to see, some of the things that they need to heal. Maybe they want a certain thing in life, but they haven't done this. Those are the things that have been coming through. And I had one reading where it was just like, blah, 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 blah. It came out in like 15 minutes and it was spot on. It was crazy. I say, like I said, one day maybe I won't be so blown away by all of this, but I definitely am in awe many times. So I feel like that's been a layer that's kind of opening. I've been noticing a lot more connection to things. I'll be honest, sometimes I feel like how do I explain this? It's not like out of body, but when you're experiencing things and it just seems like time stops. I've had quite a few of those moments recently. They tend to be when I'm outside. Sometimes they happen. It sounds scary. It's not scary. I'm all there, but sometimes it happens when I'm driving. I'll see just something beautiful and it just feels like time stops, like you're just sitting in that moment. Last night I took our dog out to go to the bathroom and the sun was setting and it was just like looking at it, and I just thought, like, how amazing is it that we get to experience these beautiful sunsets with the pink sky, and just how lucky we are, where we are and with everything. So there's been some changes. It's like some shifts in my reality and in the fabrication of myself. I don't know how to explain it. And maybe like my surroundings. I definitely can feel some shifts happening. So that ear ringing and all the synchronicities, and then some of these just experiences I've been having, they seem to be connected. I think that maybe they are connected and that's what's been going on. So yeah, and again, as I talk about this, I don't know if you guys can tell my voice starts to change. That's very common for me. Okay, so I wanted to talk about those two things. And then really the episode today is about mediumship and demons. And I watched 2 podcasts recently. I'm going to link both of them down below if you want to hear both perspectives. With it being October and Halloween the last 2 weeks, I've been kind of opening up to like ghosts, extraterrestrial, like some different topics, and just trying to consume some other things. I have dropped a lot of walls and boundaries on belief systems that I've had, but there are certain things still that I question and that I am curious about, and I probably still carry old belief systems for, and I've been working on expanding and learning more, and then trying to build my perspective off of that. So I'm a Virgo, if you can't already tell. I love knowledge, I love data, I love information, and then I like to make my decision based on what I have learned. We're going to discuss both of these, and the reason why I thought that these 2 podcasts would be important, and I don't know, like, they aren't actually directly related to mediumship, but they explained things that I kind of felt like I knew. I just didn't know how to articulate them. So a common question that I get, or a comment I'll get, like the comment is, you're talking to demons, stop, repent, find Jesus, those types of things. And then questions I get from people is there any chance that we could connect to a demon or someone evil or an evil entity? I always want to say, like, my personal experience, I have never connected with a demon or an evil entity. I've connected with people or spirits, I should say, that were not great people while they were living this last human life, but they were not demons or evil entities on the other side. They were a spirit on the other side. And a lot of times they will talk about their life. They'll explain different things. It's just like a different perspective. So that is my personal experience. I can only speak by what I have experienced. I have heard other mediums say that they have come into different things, but honestly, until I experience it myself, I try to only speak from my own experiences when giving people advice, because I cannot prove right or wrong what other people say. If that makes sense, that's kind of how I view things, especially coming into this spiritual realm, because there's a lot of information from a lot of different people with a lot of different intentions, right? And it's being cautious and trying to see through what someone's intentions are anytime you're accepting energy or information from them. So I think you got to be really selective in that. And that's just kind of like my warning. If I listen to something and I'm like, I'm getting a vibe from this person or something doesn't seem right, I stop consuming any of their content. I will unfollow them on social media. I will, if they have a podcast or a YouTube channel, I just won't consume any of their content, because for me, there's something's warning me, something is telling me. And I think I encourage everyone to use their own discernment when listening to information or consuming information. Okay, so let's get into this. The first podcast was on the Sean Ryan show, and he has a lot of people that talk about like UFOs, spirituality, things like that. Also, he does have another side where it's like political agenda, that stuff. So I definitely enjoy the content where he has people coming in talking about UFOs. Most of them are military type people. It's where I was first introduced to remote viewing, and I kind of pick and choose what I listen to of his. So this episode I listened to was with a priest, and he did exorcisms. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting, kind of like spooky, it's October. And he had a lot of stories that I found really crazy of experiences with people that were possessed. It just, kind of felt like Halloween. I was like, I'm going to listen to this. And then towards like maybe the middle or the end, he started talking, like he did talk quite a bit of religious stuff. I don't see myself as religious. I see myself as spiritual. I do think that many of us between religions and spirituality are talking about very similar things, but maybe using different language. That's how I explain it to people. So he did have some religious side to it, and how he explained it, because Sean asked the question, like, what do you think of psychics and mediums and things like that? And he was like, they're talking to demons. And his response, I was kind of like, it did make me question things, but I don't share this belief system. So he said that basically, like, when people can pull information, so say you sit with me and I share an experience of you and your mother when you were a child. He's saying that in that room, in that frame of time, there was multiple angels in the room and multiple demons, and the demons wait the whole life of this person for the opportunity to manipulate them. So then he said, when you meet with a psychic medium and they connect you with your mom that has passed, those are the demons coming in and sharing the stories of what happened in that time stamp, right? And I was like, okay, I don't think I believe that. But that's how he explained mediumship. He said any information that the medium is getting or the psychic medium is getting, it's coming straight from demons, and it's because the demons have watched you your entire life. And I'm just like, sorry guys, I just can't hop onto it. And I'm not like ridiculing or laughing anyone that carries those religious beliefs. I just think I don't believe that. It just does not fall into my belief system, but I am not religiously programmed. So it's easy for me to see past that and be like, no, I'm not falling for that. It was interesting to hear, and this is coming from a priest, an exorcist priest, so he does have training in it. A couple of things he mentioned is that in Italy, that's where they see the most. Like, it's very, very bad in Italy. And I know Italy is actually a very, very religious country. The other thing I wanted to kind of just plant this little seed, I would like to know what the percentage of possessions occurring happen in people that are religiously programmed already. So they already have a certain belief in their mind that if they do this, they will invite demons. If they do this, it will open the door to hell, things like that. Because I wonder if it almost manifests and creates these outcomes. So it's just a thought. I would like to know, what are the rate of possessions in people that have no religious background versus people that have religious programming? Because I bet you they would find, and many of the stories he shared were people that would have had religious programming. So it's already been, the thoughts have already been planted in them from a young age that if you do these things that you are playing with the devil, right? Just a thought, something I want to put out there. If you want to comment on any of this or share your thoughts or your experiences, I invite you guys to drop into the comments on either podcast or YouTube, and I'd love to hear other people's points of views. Now, the second perspective, and you know what's really crazy is that I listened to this podcast, we'll say on like Tuesday, and Wednesday morning, the second one pops up, and they were like complimentary. This was brought to me through Instagram. So the podcast I found, I think, on YouTube or maybe like Spotify, but I got a little snippet on Instagram of this other perspective, and then I went into Spotify, found their podcast, listened to the whole episode. So the podcast is called Acid for Squares. I know it sounds crazy. They're actually two psychologists that do episodes on paranormal, spirituality, things like that. I love their perspective. From a science-based person working in pharmacy, just again, being a Virgo, I can relate to how they speak about things, and I like the information and psychology part. So if you enjoy that stuff, I recommend checking out their podcast. And they had a recent episode with Daryl Anka. And if you haven't heard of him before, he is the channeler for Bashar. He's in a lot of spiritual realms. He talks on a lot of podcasts, YouTube channels, and does channeling from this extraterrestrial being, I guess you could say. And the episode he talks about first contact with aliens. So it's really interesting. This again is like something a little bit on the boundary of my belief system, but I think sometimes we have to unravel and unfold at a slower rate, because we are changing our thought patterns, we're changing our belief systems, and it's really hard to change everything at once. It's just hard to open up and be like, wow, everything's going to change. So I do think that things unravel and happen, and the breadcrumb path takes you at the right speed and at the right time, that you're capable of handling it. So this could be another like layer of my awakening that I was talking about before. And synchronicity. Man, crazy, these two things come together. In this episode, he shares demons. I had to take notes because he was very specific. Demons are not an independent entity. They are the negative side of the collective consciousness. They manifest as your level of fear manifests them, and represents what the issue is that you are dealing with on the negative conscious side. This is why it's always said, face your demons, do your shadow work. It's essentially dealing with what you create in your own mind. And you know what's really crazy is that for me, what I was always manifesting and seeing were those shadows, being scared of the dark. And literally when it was like, face your demons, do your shadow work, for me, it was facing the shadows. And that's where I really opened up to mediumship, where I had kind of pieced all those puzzle pieces together. So what he's saying, I can directly apply into my own life. And for me, this is why I think my belief system, as soon as he explained this, I was like, light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. This directly aligns with my life and my experiences. The first with the priest, that doesn't align with my experiences. What I wanted to touch a little bit on, and this is something I talk about actually before we go into that, he stated at the end, again, they are not independent entities. Demons are our own creation. So I just have to put that line there. I want that to sink in. Now, two statements that I always say, you guys hear me say it all the time here. I tell other people in my life this: what you seek, you will find. Don't look for things that you don't want to be a part of. I do firmly believe that. So when people are like, do you ever have bad energy around you? Do you ever like see spooky ghosts, or like, I don't know, like it's whatever people are kind of manifesting in their minds. But I always say no. But I'm not seeking out that stuff. I do not want to find those things. I do not want to be a part of it. So no. And I feel like I do a lot of energy protection. I am pretty clear on all of my intentions. I do not waver. There's no like tiny part of me that's like, well, maybe I want to see. No, no, not at all. Not interested. And then the other statement that I use often is that thoughts become things. So I believe our mind is a very, very powerful tool. If you think you don't deserve better, you will never find better. If you don't think that you can have money, you will never have money. Whatever you think is what you will create. And I've had this come through in Akashic Record readings so much. When we talk about limiting beliefs and blockages, a lot of it is our own belief. What we believe, we create. Especially in Akashic Record readings, we try and work on that reprogramming and finding out what are those main limiting beliefs, those main blockages, and then how do we release them. And a lot of it is just changing the way we see things, changing the perspective. I just wanted to kind of put that in there. Now, I don't think that these two podcast episodes like directly relate to the demons and mediumship. When you look at demons as that as something that we manifest and create, I think that it's just mixed up when people are like, you're talking to a demon. That's the religious programming. But demons in the spiritual world, when you talk about it in spirituality, not religious, spiritual world, is like the darker side of you. It's your demons. It's your negative conscious, right? And dealing with that and facing it and acknowledging it and working through it. That's that shadow work. I do think it's very important when coming into the spiritual realm. I have done a lot of shadow work. I have dealt with my own demons. I have processed so much stuff. I probably spent the first 4 months daily processing demons, shadows, things that I was holding on to. And I think that has really helped in when moving forward. Like, I think it helps in my readings. I think it helps in how I live my life. I think it helps how I speak to people, right? It's changed me. How do you even simplify that anymore? It's truly just changed. I think it will change yourself. I think it will change you if you focus on that and work on that shadow and negative conscious side, right? Confront it, clear it, acknowledge it, deal with it so that you can move forward. And then anytime they pop up and they happen on the day-to-day, you just deal with those. And yeah. Okay. So let's dip back into that religious programming or Hollywood programming. What if we can create things in our minds? And that's kind of going back to what I was just talking about. In the Exorcist podcast, he talks about how many people are possessed, and most of them it's because they're going against the Bible or they've invited evil into their life. So essentially they create it in their own world. And I just want to go back to, I wonder if this has to do with that religious programming. They are taught through religion that if you do this, you're going to hell, you're talking with the devil, you're dealing with demons. So therefore they're able to create this in their mind. They're almost like shifting their mindset. And I could be naive, maybe this is like totally wrong, but this is just applying it with my own lens and my own filter and what I have experienced in my own life. Now, on the spiritual side, if I sit down and do a reading, I'm asking for your loved one to come through. I'm asking for them to come through from a place of love. I'm inviting them into my heart. I ask them for any messages that you need to hear today in this moment. And I believe this allows the communication to happen directly with your loved one. And it's really hard to speak from a place of love, to invite spirit into your heart and have bad things. Like, love conquers all. Love literally conquers all. And that's something I think universally that we're taught. So I do think if you approach your mediumship and your spirituality from your heart, opening up your heart chakra, being like a little Care Bear, everything you do in your life lead from your heart, I think you will stay on the right path. I think you will only find love and light. I don't want to say there's not other stuff around, but I do think what you seek, you will find. And if you're looking to seek stuff like that, I don't know what type of holes you'll end up down, but I think your better option is just to seek from a place of love and kindness and compassion and empathy. And that is what you will find on this journey. So yeah, what a long episode. I had a lot of thoughts, a lot of things to kind of discuss. And of course, I would love to hear your viewpoints on this. What do you think? Do you have religious programming? Has it conflicted with what you've learned about spirituality? Again, my viewpoint is coming from someone that has no religious programming. So I'm able to only see one side, right? And I have never personally seen someone that's possessed or seen any crazy stuff. But some of the things he was describing, I've actually only seen in movies, right? I've never seen that stuff in real life. So it's hard to say that it's not real, but at this point, I don't think it falls in my belief system. And I'm going to stick with the second one, that when we talk about demons, we're talking about that negative side of our consciousness. We're talking about the shadows and the shadow work, and that's going to be where my standpoint is right now. I don't want to say it's like forever, because you never know what happens, but it's where I stand today. And I hope that if you've had some questions or trying to understand it yourself, that you're able to find some guidance in today's episode, that you maybe have a better idea. Maybe your thoughts align with mine. Maybe you're more on the priest side, and that's totally okay. But two different viewpoints. And if you want more information, I invite you guys to listen to both podcast episodes. I will warn you, both of them are like, one is I think 3 hours long, the other one's like 2.5. So you got a lot of listening to do, but really good information shared between both of them, and good perspective from both sides. And then you can make the decision for yourself. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I do have some more episodes coming up. I have lots of good topics, notes that I've been keeping track of things happening, and some spirit stories that I need to share coming up. Stay tuned. I'm going to try and have an episode coming out next week again, and try and get on a little bit of a pattern where I'm trying to do them at least every 2 weeks for you guys, because I just have so much information. And if I wait too long, sometimes the stories lose the details that I wanted to share with you. And yeah, they get lost in all my notes and things going on. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode as we walk this path together, finding spirit and exploring spirituality. I will see you guys next time on the next episode. Bye.